There's two key things is you have to make yourself known, right? So you got to make some kind of noise in the industry.
Okay.
And then once you are given an opportunity, you have to seize it. You have to take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you. I always say yes and then figure that shit out later, right?
Yeah.
Just take it and you'll make it happen.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the 2020 podcast. I am your host, Dr. Harbir Sayan. We are in Scottsdale, Arizona for the Bausch Lomb Believe event, and you will not believe all the amazing people that I have just run into. This is going to be probably the most special podcast that I ever record. I am here with, honestly, 4 legends of optometry. And I just got here. So let me introduce them, and then they're going to each introduce themselves a little bit more, where they're from and what they're kind of doing in life. From the far end here, Dr. Will Toe, Dr. Ryan Corte, Dr. Justin Bazan, and Dr. Kevin Bistline. Dr. Toe, why don't you kick it off?
Wow, that was a pretty impressive opening there.
You got to have energy, man.
I don't know about these legends. Maybe 4 legends over here. And I just kind of wandered in. I don't even know if I was actually invited to this.
I appreciate that's actually, you did just
that is actually true.
I appreciate the humility, man, honestly. You are a legend. Everybody knows it.
No. I'm working on it. So William Toe, I'm from San Jose, California. Just bought my practice in San Mateo, California in August. So that's 4 months ago. It's been crazy. It's been very crazy.
You didn't even do Instagram.
No, I tell you, yeah. So the not so much traveling OD right now.
That's right. That's right.
But honestly, it's been the best. I'm working literally 50 to 100% more hours per week than I have before, but I'm the happiest I've ever been.
That's
so
awesome,
it has been an amazing experience, and honestly, it's just the beginning. So we're going to see where it keeps going from here.
That's fantastic. You know what? Before because I probably will forget by the end of the interview, why don't you tell everybody where to find you on social media? What's the best handle for you?
On the Traveling OD. Instagram's the main social media that I use, but Snapchat, Facebook, all the above, really. But the Traveling OD.
Perfect.
Very nice, Will. My name is Ryan Corte,
Don't mind all the wires
I
here.
dragged these 3 gentlemen here from the pool. Harbir and I have been talking for a little bit just to kind of catch up here, and honest to goodness, this is awesome. This is better than we could ever imagine.
Yeah.
I practice in Charlotte, North Carolina. Practice is a 2-location practice in North Charlotte, North Carolina. And I also run a health and wellness website, a lot of patient education resources, product and service reviews, particularly in eye care, but in other spaces as well. You can find me on Instagram at dr.ryancorte. I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter. And that's about it. I'm going to hand it over to Justin.
Wow. Yeah, I have to say I was kind of blindsided by this. So sorry I didn't.
You look good. Don't worry about that.
I don't look half as good as you guys in my hoodie here, coming right off the plane after a couple drinks. But my name's Justin Bazan. I have a private practice called Park Slope Eye in Brooklyn, New York. We're celebrating our 12th year this year from a cold start. So we can talk a little business if you want to open up cold. I got lots of info for you. Just happy to be here. These Believe events are amazing. Quite honestly, guys, I know it's a pain in the butt to take a day off from work or take a step away from the practice, but coming to these events and meeting people like this and just the poolside conversation that we had today, those are those moments where you learn and grow and bring back to the practice, and the practice becomes better. So even though you think you're taking it away from patient care, you're going to be learning so much more as far as practice management just from hanging out with guys like this.
Fantastic. Did we already say where we can find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Justin Bazan is my handle, and the Park Slope Eye one also works too.
Perfect.
How are you? I'm Kevin Bistline. I'm in the Philadelphia area. I have a multi-location practice in that area. Do consulting work for Bausch Lomb and a few other folks.
Actually,
met this good guy, Harbir, here in Jordan, working with One Sight. One Sight's one of the great passions of my life, so enjoy doing that for any of you that have been involved in One Sight. And yeah, you can find me Kevin Bistline or Bistline Vision Care on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you need to find me. Appreciate being here with these guys. It's been a good time already. We're glad to be at this event.
That's awesome, man. You hang on to that. I got my own. Why don't we start with, since everybody here actually owns their own practice or multiple practices in a few cases here, just a little bit of, if you can, in a nutshell anyway, your experience, because we also have different modalities here, right? Private practice versus sublease as well for you, Kev, right? So maybe if you can start with your experience, how long ago you started? You have multiple locations. What is sort of your, actually maybe this is a question, what is, if somebody's looking to get into a sublease practice, what would your advice be, and what has your experience been in the years that you've been doing it?
Yeah, so as you said, I have sublease locations. I work with lens crafters, my locations. And to be honest, it wasn't my initial plan right out of school. You know, I thought I was going to set up a private practice in actually the Asheville, North Carolina area. I have some family down there. And full disclosure, my mom got sick, came back up to help out with family, things like that. I had worked at a lens crafters when I was in school. Kind of knew that model a little bit from there, reached out to some folks. And that's why it's always important to keep good relationships and network and do all that. I reached out to some folks that I had known, some docs, and luckily they immediately wanted to hire me, and I was able to get, working for a doc that had the sublease location. Eventually wound up taking one over his practices from him, and kind of went from there. I was successful there, so when a second location became available, at the time they weren't even doing second locations, and timing was right, and had known the right people and had good relationships, and got offered the second location, and it kind of went from there. So. Well, it's challenging, it's different. So one thing I'll say, when you have more than one location, it doesn't always work. We were just literally poolside chat talking about this earlier, that what I did with the first location, I tried to transition that right into the second location, and it didn't immediately work. And I, kind of learned the hard way that the different demographics of the community affected how people did things and what worked. And, my first location was very family community based, and the second location was much more young professionals based, and so it changed how I operated. So.
Awesome, man. Good. Thank you very much, Justin. So Justin, you have a private practice, like you said, you did a cold start in Brooklyn, New York. Is that right? So tell us about that, because I think a lot of people would like to know what it's like to cold start and what the challenges are.
I also had a sublease too.
Oh, you did? I didn't know.
I had private practice for about 9 years, somewhere around there. And then I said, you know what? Let me take one of these subleases that I hear about. Man, that was one of the longest, toughest years of my life. It was actually a sublease in a new location, so business was slow. And trying to build a business within a larger corporate environment, after owning a private practice for nearly a decade, proved to be very challenging to me. And it was not the environment for me. So it's interesting to see that, how different it actually is than what my experience in private practice was. My experience in private practice is that nobody gives a F about you, because there's nobody to give an F about you, right? You don't have somebody in corporate watching what's going on at that location. So you really have to stay on top of everything, and it's make it or break it. So there's lots of outside forces, but honestly, you have to put in the work. I mean, I was working 7 days a week. Will only works like 11 hours a day. I was working like from 8 to 8 in the office, and then outside of that, I was always thinking, like, you have a practice, it doesn't ever leave your mind. Like, there's things that, I'm just walking down the street and you're like, oh shit, that's something I can apply to my business. You're always working, but in the most enjoyable way. And I think that's what the biggest difference for me is that the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do, and to make it or break it all on my own, was appealing to me. And when I got thrown into a different environment, and it didn't go like that, that was something that I said I can't continue to do. So I actually stopped the sublease after about a year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And how's Park Slope? I mean, we met early last year. I don't know, I started to learn a little bit more about it. It seems like things are going really well, and you're doing a really good job on social media, using that, leveraging that to help build the practice. We'll probably come around to talk a bit more about social media, since we have some superstars here. Cool. Why don't we hear from Ryan here? Go ahead.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I know I didn't even like lead you in there.
The best in the business.
Go ahead. Just take it from here. I'm done.
He's good.
No, okay. So, Ryan, you have two sublease practices now. The second one you just took over. Is that correct? It was already.
Yeah. So kind of though coming back full circle, like Kevin had mentioned, my original goal was to partner in a private office buy-in. Moved down to the Charlotte, North Carolina area, had established some relationships, worked for 2 different offices, and kind of settled towards working towards one. And got a call from my now business partner, Dr. Rachel Rubel, who you know through social media. And you ever met Rachel?
No.
So so Rachel and her husband Brad were looking at taking over a LensCrafters sublease. A doctor had been there for about 25 or so years and was transitioning out, and we had the opportunity to kind of get our foot in the door. And so it was one of those opportunistic moments for me. And you asked how do people get their foot in the door for that? Well, it depends on where you live. I mean, sometimes they're trying to give away subleases, while and other times you have to purchase them or be really heavily networked. Right. It just truly depends on the situation. And we were fortunate for that first one to kind of fall in our lap, but the second one we did end up purchasing this summer, and both great locations, good proximity to my house, and just really been a good, I would say, avenue for me. We still treat patients like I have in a private office. The only difference for me is I just don't have the opportunity to sell them, anything in the optical. But overall, I'm very happy with that pathway, and I'm all about opportunity, and I'm all about just faith and where things lead you, and that's kind of where I've ended up.
Great. And would you kind of agree with what Kevin was saying about the two different locations? Do you have different clientele, different demographic? You have to approach them differently, or do they kind of overlap?
To a certain degree, yes. I mean, our second location is a little closer to the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. I gotcha. So we see a little bit more student population, and it's at a different, retail setting. So it's actually more of a discount retail mall compared to a higher end retail mall. So it's just different clientele.
Got it.
At the end of the day, our biggest thing is always taking care of the patient. And taking care of the patient over time helps. We won't have for 6 months, but helps build referrals and helps grow the business.
Yep. And so mentioning that one is slightly higher end, one is maybe more of a discount type situation. Are your fees and services all the same, or are there differences there? We
align our services, our fees pretty economically overall, just based on the fact that we want to. I think we were talking about earlier that insurance kind of drives people in the door, and at the end of the day, how you take care of that patient, and if you take care of their eye health and vision. For the long haul, you're going to go ahead and make money in a practice. And so, our fees are fairly aligned, at a pretty, I would say, reasonable price point. We're definitely not the cheapest. We're definitely not the most expensive in the area.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you very much.
The man who works 11 hours a day.
Dr. Toe, yeah, you know what? Will just put up a post that he worked literally 30 days in the month of December, and I don't know if you actually, but your office day off. Fair enough. Well, that's why it's 30, not 31. But so tell us about, because you just started your practice recently. Tell us about it and how it's been so far.
So like I mentioned, I just purchased the practice in August. So first, everything that these guys said about what it takes, that hustle, that grind, it's completely true. And a big part of it too is being an older established practice. It was a high end retail practice. So one of the first things I want to do is first not take away from what the practice had done so well for 3 decades, but incorporate some of the more modern aspects of optometry, doing medical billing, specialty contact lenses, things like that. So, even though I've only owned it for a few months, I've already done things like that. Bought an OCT, which it never had access to before. Incorporated, ocular disease, specialty contact lenses. We just fit our first specialty contact lens patient this past month. Bringing in an Optos Monaco has been huge for the practice as well too, to help screen for many of these conditions. And right now I'm in the prospect of talking to a lot of dry eye companies to bring in some equipment for that as well too. Great. So a lot of this is because I know I just started the practice. I have all this momentum. I want to keep pushing it because I know it may not last forever. But like I said, I like this. It's hard work, but it feels good. And honestly, to be able to do more for the patients, I could have kept it the same. I could have kept just focusing on primary care and retail, selling glasses, selling contact lenses like I had been doing for 30 years, and I probably would be successful for another 30 years just doing that. But at the end of the day, we can talk about that. Different beast in California than New York, than what Justin has to deal with. But,
fair enough.
At the end of the day, I always like to think, in what ways can we do more? It's not even about the money. The money will come. Honestly, my thing is, let me do everything I can to take care of my patients in the best way. And then the money will come. So honestly, part of me working as much as I did in December, it was tough. I opened on some days 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. seeing patients all day. For almost the 30 days.
That's amazing.
And it wasn't so that I could make more money. It was so that I can help more people. Because honestly, the truth is, no, I mean it.
I'm glad
honestly,
Justin's sitting in the middle here.
The thing is, there were a lot of, we gave away, we donated eye exams to a lot of low income families during that time. So I'm clearly not making money. I don't think that's how it works. Care credit, No, things like that, it's where it's like, at the end of the day, we will make, it's December, it's the end of the year. We all, optometry practices tend to do well, regardless of the modality or what you can offer. But if we can also give back, that makes a difference. There are some families out there who, they're both mom and dad work 2 or 3 jobs and they can't come in, before 7 p.m. every day. Right. So it's like, if we can offer a little bit more, not all the time, because it's just not sustainable, but if we can offer just a little bit to help them out, that's, whatever way you can give back. And I truly believe in karma. I truly believe it comes back to you when you just put all this good energy forward. And like I said, it's, is this something I can do all the time, every time? No, but as much as I can, I will. So the privilege of being able to own a private practice, to me, having that autonomy to make those kinds of decisions, that's what's been really great for me over the past few months.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy to hear that you're getting that, and that you're finding this fulfillment and satisfaction that you weren't getting from not being a practice or prior to being a practice owner. Because I think a lot of times, couple different things I'm hearing from students, and you guys probably have heard a lot of this from people too. One is that they're afraid it's saturated and it's too late to open up or buy a practice or open cold or whatever, and then they're afraid of the amount of work it's going to be, and it's just going to be this big like slog of like every day I'm going to work. It's such a grind, but the thing is, when you're actually doing something you love, it doesn't feel that way, right? You're enjoying it. It gives you fulfillment and satisfaction. For the most part, there's always going to be the days, right?
It's a good tired. Yeah, for the most part, it's a good tired. But there's no such thing as work-life balance. So when somebody comes to me and they're like, well, what's my work-life balance going to be? And I'm like, they're being a social. I'm like, don't start with that.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about being here for a few years and then opening up and like that's the first thing on your mind, like that's probably not going to be a good
No,
fit.
that's fair.
But their whole work-life balance is there's some days you have to work harder and you suck it up and you do. And there's other times you can take 3 weeks off in the busiest month and go to Africa and give no fucks. It's like
that's great.
There are children listening to this.
I'll think about bleeping that. We'll see. I haven't decided yet.
It's the truth though. But I think when you own a business, you have to know when you really have to get things done. You can't have a 9-to-5 mentality.
Yeah.
There's no way. I think that if you're going into business, the reality check you're going to need is there's going to be some days where you have to tell your friends like, look, I can't meet you to rock climb today. I have to get some things done at the office.
Right.
And then there'll be other days where you know what, you can have that freedom, and they're going to be the ones that say, oh, I can't take off from work for 2 weeks. There's no way I can do that.
Right.
But you can.
Yeah.
But you can.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think work-life balance. Sorry, Kev, did you have something? You feel free to chime in. But I was going to say, I think the view of what people like, a lot of times people are looking at with work-life balance is literally on a day-to-day basis. Whereas I think you got to zoom out and look at it, if not month to month, like year to year, right? Like it eventually will balance out. But I think too many people get like too narrow focused on that. I want to quickly switch gears a little bit. I had a question coincidentally from somebody before I came out here about how I got involved in this kind of stuff, or how I got involved in some of the dry eye stuff that I've been doing now recently. And I'll share my thoughts, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, because I know there's a lot of younger ODs out there who really want to do this. They want to be involved with industry in different ways, and you guys are all very involved with different companies. So we're here for BNL, so if you want to share how you got involved with BNL or something else, please go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, so I think it all links together. I think that something we were all talking about is a lot of people have like fought for us to have like a good scope of practice and what that means, and I think it's okay to be a practice that is mainly focused on optical, or a practice that's mainly focused on medical optometry or whatever, but I think it's important that we maintain the full scope within our practices, and I think that's it's okay to be an owning doc. It's okay to be sublease for private practice or an associate doc. Like I think there's really, really good associate docs, and that's what they're meant to do, and they give their best care that way. And I think kind of knowing yourself that way is important. But I think that the fact that I made my practices full scope, and I'm involved in a group that Ryan's into, this group All Docs, that is an organization of the subleases, and it's been great as far as pushing a little bit to not get too just comfortable and bored, and it energizes me. I know, one thing as a practice owner, like that you notice about yourself is like you're energized by new things. So I'm constantly working, I'm constantly doing, but if I can do something new, speaking, consulting, whatever, like I'm already busy. People are like, "Are you serious? You're going to add one more thing?" And it's both a I guess a good thing for me and a flaw for me, and it's fine. That is the finding that balance. But I think in general, it's that I've remained always open to new opportunities. I remain kind of neutral in my opinion of people and things and organizations, and just network in a very authentic way. Just kind of really care about people and know people. And like when I met you, I don't know you at all at that point, and just wanted to like really know you, and you really wanted to know me, and that you can smell that on people pretty quick. And it sounds silly to see that, but a lot of these guys like could just meet in different ways, and then you wind up later knowing things, and if you stay authentic that way, we were talking about this earlier, you'll miss opportunities here and there, but opportunities will kind of land in your lap. I had done some other like speaking stuff, and the right time, the right thing happened, the right person was in the right place to come and say, hey, like we're missing somebody in your little world of practice. Do you think, would you ever be interested in like consulting with us and speaking for us? And right now that makes a lot of sense in my life. A bunch of things have happened, and do it when it makes sense in your life too. I mean, you can add too many things, so you do have to quote unquote balance that. But I guess just be open to it. You'd be willing to make yourself nervous and uncomfortable again.
Right.
I realized that I practice like had gotten kind of like as silly as it might sound to people that are in the stage of like building that up, and there's plenty more I can do. I don't mean to be arrogant. There's plenty more I can do, but I mean more it got comfortable. The day-to-day was ordinary to me. Right. So to do speaking, to stand in front of people and like speak on something, even though no matter how well I knew it, made me nervous again, made me a little bit like uncomfortable again. Right. And I guess I'm just sick a little bit in the sense that I like that. I like to feel nervous again. I like to feel like challenged again and push a little bit harder in a positive way. I love going into a room where I see a doc you can tell is smart and knows what they're doing and really cares about their patients, but just is missing that one thing to make that turn into success for them, and like saying some little thing that like hits home for them. Yeah. Because people have done that for me my entire life. I mean, still today, like talking to these guys, something will land and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should really do that. That's a missing piece. And we're all kind of supporting each other. We're not really in competition with each other. So it's a cool dynamics.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point that I've been learning more and more from the successful, not just optometrists, people in other industries that I've been interviewing during the podcast, is like it's collaboration versus competition, right? I think that closed mindset, that feeling of it's scarcity mindset, that always gets you in trouble, and that always it limits your potential, I think, ultimately, versus being just open to opportunities and collaborating with people. So Justin, tell me a little bit about, if you were going to give somebody a bit of advice on how to start getting involved in different organizations or in the industry, what would you say to somebody brand new, just coming out of school?
Real quick though, is he even involved in anything?
I don't know. I just see him.
He's not even dressed up right.
Hair, makeup, and wardrobe don't arrive until a little bit later.
They're a little later.
I don't need as much time to get ready as you guys. I'm actually, my hair and makeup only takes a matter of seconds. But so there's two key things. Is you have to make yourself known, right? So you got to make some kind of noise in the industry, and then once you are given an opportunity, you have to seize it. You have to take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you. I always say yes and then figure that shit out later, right? Yep. Just take it and you'll make it happen. So when a company approaches you, let's say it's a new dry eye medication that you've never used before, but they want to put you on a speaker bureau. All right, so you'll get to know it as the time comes. You'll get the proper training, and then you'll go out and you'll be able to share your working clinical knowledge of it, your practical management side of it, and then you'll be able to help spread their corporate message as well too. Yep. And I guess the third component of that is the more you do it, the better you get at it, right? It's just like anything else you practice. So if you want to be on, get on the speaking advisory board for one company, you'll get good at it, and then that'll apply to other ones as they hear your reputation build in the industry. But that's it. But you got to start making some noise in the industry, and I think being involved in some of these social media platforms, whether it's a Young ODs group or
feel
ODs
free
on
to
Facebook.
free to shout them out. I'm sure you got one or two that you would preferably have people know about.
So Young ODs is a group that Will, myself, John Wynn, and Kurt Kupke started a few years ago. That has grown tremendously across the country, and we have hot spots in California, Florida, Colorado, New Jersey, New York, and we are primarily discussing day-to-day topics using Facebook groups, but then we get together for offline events quite frequently too. So I encourage everybody to. Will's our party guy, so I'll let Will share a little bit more about the events. But those are great opportunities to also let people know that you have thoughts about key topics in the industry. You can. I don't know. You can sit behind your computer and read all these articles and then think you have great thoughts, but if you're not sharing them with people that can put you onto things, then it really isn't going to matter, right? So get yourself out there, get involved in things, and be open to the opportunities, recognize them, and take advantage of them.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Ryan, same question. How did you find yourself getting involved, and any advice you'd give?
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys hit the nail on the head. Really, at the end of the day, you have to be engaging in general, whether it's amongst your colleagues, whether it's within the professional community. Something that I actually talk to a lot of reps about is people a lot of times will dismiss reps when they come into their office. Like, I don't have time for you, or I already know this, or I read this. And at the end of the day, take them up on the opportunity to have lunch, go to their events, maybe where they have a speaker, and then take the time to build a relationship with them and ask, hey, if I can ever be an advocate for you. Obviously, you have to stand behind the product, right? So I'm really big on, only speak or only represent something that you truly believe in.
It's all good.
It's a hot spot. Okay. And so at the end of the day, for example, Bausch Lomb and why I'm here and been involved in speaking for them is I truly believe in where the company is, the pipeline that they've really released since I've been a practicing optometrist, and their commitment to optometry. And then talking to my reps about, hey, any way I can help down the road. I really truly believe in what this company is doing. You see it through the numbers in my practice. Any way I can get involved. And then over time, that translates to opportunity. And, I think, we can do a lot of things online, but face-to-face interaction nowadays and being authentic with your relationships is key.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the one word that you used in there that I think a lot of people don't keep kind of add into their equation is time, right? And I'm guilty of this too, because when I started practicing years ago, I was just like, all right, how do I just be part of everything all of a sudden right now? But it takes time. It's building relationships. Old school. It's still that for that one thing, I think it's still very old school. You just got to take the time and
everybody has a passion in life. And at the end of the day, we may think we know where we're going in our own professional journey, but there's definitely kinks in the road. There's changes. Things happen over time, and you gotta take advantage of opportunities that present themselves to you. And it may not always be the opportunity that you think is the right fit for you at the time when it presents itself. But look into it, like Justin had mentioned. If you feel like it's something that could be a good fit for you, say yes. Learn about it. Ask questions. Those are all big things. That's awesome. At the end of the day, there's a lot of opportunity in our profession. And
what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
That's what I like to use as that filter. What's the worst that can happen? So I do it. Like it, I stopped doing it.
It was like your sublease experience. It wasn't the right fit for you. Exactly it was a brand new sublease, and you're like, all right, I gave it a shot, and now you can talk about it. So.
Yeah. So definitely will. I want you to chime in there, but I just cracked open a book that I bought months ago, actually almost a year ago. I bought it in Jordan on our way back, coming back home, but it's called Mindset. By Carol Dweck. It's a super popular book in sort of psychology and that kind of thing. And literally I've read the first, I don't know, whatever, 20, 30 pages, and it just talks about the two types of mindset, the closed and the growth, and that you guys are 100% describing the growth mindset. I was like, I think I know people who have this as I'm reading the book, and here I am sitting with a bunch of dudes who literally you guys are describing it, like being open to opportunity, taking the opportunity, like looking for those things versus just saying, oh, this is who I am and this is it, right? That's all I got. So anyway, highly recommend the book. I've only read a little bit of it. It's really good. So
First 20 pages.
it's clearly manifesting itself already. Here. Sorry, Will, please.
honestly-
He only reads the first 20 pages at the back cover, and that's all you get.
Doesn't that count? How else do you read a book a day? I don't know.
No, honestly, I mean, not, just to kind of parrot what these guys are saying, it's absolutely true. I mean, I'll add on to that as well too. Is, there are so many opportunities out there. A lot of people don't step up and take it. It's almost shocking. Myself, I present a lot of opportunities, a lot of young ODs out there and students and things like that. And you'll be surprised how many say no to relatively simple things. And, for me, it's, a big part of it is, I understand that it's scary to put yourself out there. I understand that it's easier to not do something, right? I am I'm behind on every one of my Netflix shows, at least a season behind, because sometimes I have time for that stuff, sometimes I don't, and it's
Talk
so
about
easy.
first world problems, huh?
But honestly,
Yeah,
it's easier to not do something. It is easier to not do something and just go home and just wear your PJs and just watch Netflix all day, all night.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to just do that than to take advantage of these opportunities, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, right? But for those who do seize those opportunities, they're the ones that take advantage of what's out there, the ones that go to these different types of conferences like where we're at right now with Believe. For those who sit at the table and interact with other doctors who are at a similar mindset or at a higher level mindset than they are, that's how you get better. That's how you grow. You can't do it any other way, and it does take time, like we mentioned, but it does take the audacity of taking advantage of those opportunities, because it is easy to just say no. It is easy to just stay home. And I get that, but if you don't go out there, if you don't put yourself out there, nothing will change. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. But if you want to be better, you have to be willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I like that word, audacity. That's a good word. Just a quick, we'll just come back around this way. Will, just business advice or just any kind of general advice you want to give to young ODs or students who are coming out right now in just a few sentences, what would be kind of your number one thing? You can
Honestly,
speak to the camera now. They're watching you.
Well, you are better than you think. You know more than you think. You just have to have the confidence to believe in yourself. And that's honestly true. Everybody, every single one of you students who are looking, or young ODs that just graduated, you're looking at this table here and you're looking at what you believe are impressive people who have done amazing things. But guess what? We're only able to do that because we had people when we were students and young ODs to learn from and be better. So your job is to look at what we're doing and be better than us, because that's how the profession gets better. It only gets better if every generation that comes after is better than the one before. Because if we're stagnant, that's a bad thing. Or if it starts going downhill, that's a very bad thing. But your job is to always be better than what you're seeing in front of you right now.
That's awesome. I see Will put his advocacy hat on there. He's promoting the profession. I like that, though. That's excellent. Thank you.
Shout out to the AOA, right? There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Ryan, same question, if you can give some advice. Now, keep in mind, I'm very fortunate that some people who watch and listen are actually not optometrists or in the field. So that was excellent advice, I think, for anybody, to be honest. But same if you're able to broaden it a touch from outside of optometry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just big on the journey. At the end of the day, we all have a set destination where you're like, okay, this is going to make me happier. This is where I'm going to finally feel like I've made it, or I'm now successful. But embracing every single part of the journey, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, there's going to be 30 days out of a month where you're going to work, there's going to be 3 weeks where you're 2-3 weeks where you're out of the country. At the end of the day, when you take the time to embrace the journey and really just continue to learn, and every time you show up to an event or you meet somebody, you have a genuine interaction, just be as authentic as you can. Embrace that, you don't know everything, they don't know everything, but it's all about collaboration and learning from each other. And every single day, just keep getting better. And, that's something I think I just live by, personally, is just, every single day is a new day to a wise person, and so you just keep going, keep striving, and embrace it. So that's really for me.
Fantastic.
Broke the mic.
Yeah,
Mic
just
drop.
put the
I guess that's a
Mic drop.
mic drop. There you go.
there was a conversation that I had with a former manager, and it was over something that I didn't like doing. And he was like, "So you're just not going to do it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, my general philosophy is I find things that I like to do and I do more of them. And the things that I don't like to do, well, I could get other people to do it." And that was a big game changer when I opened up my practice. You know, a few months in, I was like, "Oh my God, I can't stand this insurance billing." So I went out and I hired an insurance biller, right? So, you know, and then there's certain things that I like to do and I'll continue to do. And I think that has led me to have a life that is centered around focusing on things that I enjoy more and eliminating things that I enjoy less. That's been key to success.
That's it. I like that.
So, I guess getting back to a little bit on what we touched on, you know, I think that I'm still in this kind of growth period of my life, and I think that that's maybe something to continue for any of us sitting here not to even come close to thinking we're done, and I don't think anybody does. And I think in the end, whether the success is financial or whatever it is, will fluctuate from year to year and can change. And I think that in the beginning, it's knowing yourself first. Like, try really hard to know yourself. And that took me longer than it should have to get to. And I think that once you do that, then you can develop a plan and then allow that plan to be fluid. As opportunities arise, as you meet different people, as much as humanly possible, stay authentic. Whatever self you put out there, let it really be you. There can be different versions of you. I don't mean that, but let whatever you're putting out there really be you. So then if it lands and you make a connection with somebody and they know that you can be that, and you can be successful in that, and you can be authentic in that. And I'm not trying to be Will, I'm not trying to be Justin, I'm not trying to be Ryan. That's another thing. Don't learn from, I guess, when other people start to become successful, and there's all different layers to what that means. Just learn from more like what we're talking about right now, the general aspects that allow that success to happen, rather than what that success is more what allows it to happen what gets you there. And I think that you can connect any aspect of life. It can be your personal life, it can be different businesses, not just optometry. You know, I'll look at it and I'll see, you know, what's trending in our profession right now. Okay, well, what's the next thing ahead of that? You know, and is that something I'd be excited to do? And when I think about like taking care of people more medically, that sounds exactly like me. Like, that sounds like something that is really cool to me, to sit and really explain to them how their eyes and how their health, you know, connects all together. That sounds like me. If that didn't sound like me, and when I think about that, sounds all right, then going down the path of medical optometry doesn't make sense for me. If I more like love the business aspect and making them feel good about how they look and that whole thing, and running that and employing people, then maybe that's my focus. But you can all bring it back to yourself. I mean, one of the biggest reasons I keep a private practice and not just go into industry, at least at this point in my career, is I like employing people. I like giving people a job. I like and that sounds silly, but I really do. Like, when I think about like stuff like that, when we get a slope here and I think, oh gosh, like what if we shrunk and then this person and that person couldn't be employed. I love that aspect of it. I love that sort of like entrepreneurial. Right. Yeah, it's just a fun component to it. I think just having a plan, but letting that plan be fluid as life plays itself out, and try to be as authentic as you can and learn who you really are.
That's awesome. Amazing advice. I think on that note, we'll wrap it up. What I'll just say to kind of finalize everything here is I always talk about networking and connecting, and these guys have all mentioned it as well. So please reach out. They're all very, very accessible via social media, as pretty much everybody is these days. So don't be afraid to reach out. You know, push your boundaries, get out of your comfort zone, and I'm certain that good things will follow. So I forgot to say it in the beginning, but if you follow regularly, you know that I always have one request, which is if you got some value, and I'm certain when you have 4 studs like this sitting in front of the camera or on the microphone that you have found some value, please share it with a friend. So whether you tell them in person, text them, pick up a phone, take a screenshot, put it up your Instagram story and tag us all in it. Let us know what you thought, what your takeaways were. And of course, we will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for having us.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, guys. That was incredible.